Okay, this is one of our router tables. It's basically just a table with a router mounted underneath it, and we'll change the bit to put different shapes on whatever our board that we run through there. We also have this sweet router table that we use for making raised panels. Okay, we'll cover the rules on this. We're going to observe a 4-inch safety margin. It means our hands need to be 4 inches away from the bit while it's turned on. Whenever possible, we want to use feather boards to hold the stock down and against the fence. Now, I showed you the feather board on the joiner earlier, that yellow magnetic one that holds your tight against the fence. So we have a feather board here that we can adjust to hold our piece of wood down tight against the table. We also have one that'll fit in this miter track to hold it up against the fence. Okay, we're going to use a push block on small pieces. We're always going to push stock against the direction of the cutter, never with it. So this thing's spinning this way, so that means we want to move in this way, so we're working against it. If we try and work this way, it's just going to grab that piece and try and throw it. We don't want that. All right, no freehanding. So what we need to use is we either need to use the fence. It does have a bearing on here, so we can have our piece going up against the bearing, or we can set up a guide pin that our piece rocks against to then get to the bearing. But we don't want to freehand. Actually, I think on the test it says there's 3 things you're not supposed to do. One is freehand. One is cut with the direction. We're never supposed to cut with the direction. And then the other one is we never want to back out. So if we come in, we don't want to back out because then we're moving with the direction again. So those are the 3 things we never do. To keep from splitting the edge of a finished surface of a piece, we're going to cut the end grain first. When I cut the end grain, it's almost always going to chip out here. I can put a piece of wood behind it and that'll help, but it's almost always going to chip out there. And so if I cut my edge first and then I cut this and it chips out, now it just chipped out on my real good finished edge. So what I want to do is I want to do my end grain first, and then when I do my edge, it will kind of cover up that chip out. It'll get rid of that material. So that's why we always do the end first. Even on raised panels, all that stuff will work end first all the way around. We just leave it on, and so when we plug it in, it's going to turn on. Normally we'd hook a dust collector up, but I'm not going to do that right now. So I'm just going to run this board through there and show you what it does. On the router, I always use hearing protection because the thing's so noisy. Okay. So whatever bit we have in there, it's just going to apply that shape, and we can raise and lower it to get set to the height we want. That's it for the router table.